Hello everybody and welcome to Crowdsource Commander. I am Chris Cornejo, your friendly media producer person. I don't know, my job title I don't think means a lot. Associate media producer is technically my job title, but who cares? I'm the guy who makes all the Twitch and video stuff that goes out for Card Kingdom. Hi, how are y'all doing today? It is a nice sunny day in Seattle, but not so blazingly hot as it has been the past couple of weeks or so. It's starting to cool down into more normal Seattle temperatures, I guess you might say. Anyway, this is Crowdsource Commander. We're building the deck I am going to play in a couple of weeks at Commander Kingdom. I'm going to be announcing who I am playing against at the end of this stream, so stick around for an hour or so while we build this deck. We are building Prosper Tome-Bound. I don't know if you all have heard about this. Wizards actually released a thing on their mothership site about it, but there are some shipping delays getting normal Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set and draft boosters out to people. So with that in mind, the choices we gave out on Twitter for you all to vote on for who I was going to build were the 4 pre-con commanders, and we're just going to be upgrading the pre-cons. So, Prosper is the one that won, which is good. I like the idea of Prosper. Prosper is one of the more interesting pre-con face commanders to build around out of the 4 that came out. And I didn't really want to build an Aura Voltron deck because I feel like those decks seem like they're going to do very well and then always get polarized once people realize, oh, we should probably gang up before that commander kills me. Anyway, yes, let's get to it. So first, theme and rules. We've got to go over the theme and rules for this build. Theme, treasure. Prosper likes casting cards from Exile, and once you do, you make a treasure token. So we are going to make as much treasure as we can, both using Prosper and other means, and then use that to win. There are a couple of ways to do it, some of which come in the deck, some which don't, so we'll get to that. Now, 3 rules. We like having deck building restrictions on this show, and in life in general for me, just because it seems more fun that way. I don't know. Adding restrictions keeps you from building good stuff decks, because every color combination kind of has staple cards where you can just throw those in, your deck will always be good. But they'll all kind of end up being relatively samey. If you have shells that just include the same 40 to 50 cards every time, then it kind of gets boring. So I like mixing it up just a little bit by adding rules and restrictions that make me have to kind of stretch a little. So, first rule, keep every new card. So we are building straight off the pre-con. We're going to upgrade it, just try to make it a little better than what comes in the package, or at least a little more streamlined for the strategy we want to use to win. However, any card that is strictly from these commander sets or from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms that comes with it, we're keeping. So that is the restriction for what we can and can't upgrade. We can get rid of any other kind of reprint. We cannot get rid of the brand new cards that are being printed for the first time, either in this commander deck or in Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. The second restriction, no other Adventures in the Forgotten Realms cards. There are some good ones here for treasure. There's a lot of treasure cards in Adventures of the Forgotten Realms. I don't want to take cards out of people's shopping carts, if that makes sense. There are some shipping delays with Adventures in the Forgotten Realm cards. We can get all the Commander product in the world right now. Not literally, but enough to, satisfy everybody's needs. But the other stuff is a little more, people might have to wait. I don't want to have to make people wait just so I can build this deck. So, no new AFR cards other than what comes in this deck already. And the third rule, we have a $200 upgrade limit. So, this deck, as it stands, let's just go to the next view here. There we go. This deck, as it stands, costs $104 from Card Kingdom. This is the deck. If you just open it up and start playing with it, total all the cards together, it's $104. Which seems like a pretty good deal if you were buying them all just as singles right now. Some of these have to have gone up and down and whatnot. Anywho, given that price tag, that is $200 added to that I can play with. So, if I hit $304 or more, that's when, we're going off the rails. So that said, let's get started. We're going to start, as always, with the lands. This deck comes with a pretty good spread of lands already, like, just going down the list here, Bajukabog and Command Tower are great. We like those cards. Those all do good things. Let me actually get to the screen where I can kind of interact with this so I can point things out, if that is possible. You're going to see my mouse double just because of the way I have to layer all these windows. Sorry, it's just kind of hard to be able to point things out otherwise. So, looking at the card list on the right here. Bojuka Bog, Command Tower, both do great things. Command Tower, I don't necessarily think is strictly necessary in 2-color decks, but it's also just a dual land that always works. A dual or more land, so we're going to keep it in. Exotic Orchard is add 1 color of mana that a land an opponent controls could produce. If we were playing a green deck, I'm much more likely to keep Exotic Orchard in, just because green tends to be very popular. Realized I still had my mask on around my head. I don't need it while I'm doing this. In a black-red deck, I'm less likely to throw it in. I don't know what the other 3 players are playing yet. I don't even know if they're going to be in red or black. Odds are good at least one of them will be. But I don't like having to rely on other players for colors, especially if I'm only playing a 2-color deck. I'm much more likely to throw in Exotic Orchard and Fellow Hearthstone in a 3 or more color deck, so Exotic Orchard can probably go. Foreboding Ruins comes in tapped unless you show a swamp or a mountain from your hand when you play it. It's fine. We can probably do better. There's definitely some utility lands I want to have in this deck we might end up having to make room for, so we'll see. Mortuary Mire is a good land that does a thing we like. When it enters the battlefield, so it enters tapped, which is a cost. It's a real cost in Commander. When it enters tapped. When you do, you put a creature card from your graveyard. Is it onto your library or into your hand? On top of your library. So it basically lets you rebuy a creature card at the expense of your next draw. You are drawing that card. Where's Princess? What? That was the last stream. That was the D&D stream. This is Crowdsource Commander. We're building a Commander deck right now. Sorry. If you want, the VOD for that is still up on the channel, though. You can go watch the whole D&D adventure that we did yesterday, which was quite fun. Yes, it was. That will also be up on YouTube later today. The VOD is on Twitch. You can go watch that. I'm not going to mind. What was I saying? Mortuary Mire is good. Probably keep it. It's kind of borderline for me. It has a good effect. But, yeah. Yeah, I think there are cards that can do that better. Maybe even lands that can do that sort of thing better. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. We're probably going to shave some amount of basics. They have 13 mountains and 14 swamps. We're probably going to cut that down just to make room for some other stuff. Carnarium, I'm not a big fan of the bounce lands on their own, just as like mana-producing lands, especially if you aren't playing like Amulet of Vigor style effects or anything like that. However, if we do end up with a bunch of utility lands that do stuff on entrance, like Mortuary Mire, Bojuka Bog, that sort of thing, I'm perfectly fine playing Carnarium just to rebuy those effects, so that is good. Some of these, like Shadow Brood Ridge, Smoldering Marsh, what was the other one they have here? Tainted Peak, and yeah, those 3, they're kind of very mediocre dual lands. We can probably upgrade those so they'll end up getting cut. Underdark Rift, I'll go back up to Spine Rock in a second, I realized I just did that. It's very funny. It is an uncard, I forget the name of the uncard, but they basically printed an uncard in black border. You pay 5, tap it, and exile Underdark Rift, roll a d10, put target artifact, creature, or planeswalker into its owner's library beneath the top X cards of that library, where X is the number rolled. The result. You can only do that at sorcery speed, but it's essentially creature, planeswalker removal, or artifacts, right? Yeah, artifact removal on a land at sorcery speed. It ain't bad. It's also doesn't require a whole bunch of hoops to jump through, like, say, Blast Zone or something, where you have to charge it up to get it to the right number. This just reaches out, takes care of a problem. It's probably staying in. It's pretty good. Spine Rock Knoll. The hideaway lands I am iffy on, in general, like if you're just throwing them into a deck. You can usually build a deck that will trigger their requirements pretty easily. That's not the problem, it's just there is a bit of risk involved, especially if your opponents like to play Ghost Quarter or anything that blows up lands. In this deck, we are looking for ways to cast cards from Exile, so I'm sticking with Spine Rock Knoll. Also dealing 2 damage to an opponent, I think that's the thing. You may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost if opponent was dealt 7 or more damage this turn, not 2, don't know where I got 7. However, we don't necessarily have to be the ones dealing that damage. In Commander, people take 7 damage a turn. We can probably keep this in. Zalfrin Void is when it enters tapped. Does it enter tapped? No, this one doesn't enter tapped. When it enters, you scry 1. It's pretty good. It's pretty basic. I think we can do better. This is kind of the spot I would put something like Castle Lochthwain. Just draw some cards. So anyway, let's actually get to building things. We're going to start with EDHREC at the lands thing. EDHREC is a great place to start building, even if, like, these are obviously the most popular cards. Last Commander Kingdom, we had Joey Schultz on, who is one of the people in charge of EDHREC, helped build it. One of the main three guys. He's on the EDHREC cast, and even he has said that EDHREC is a great tool. It's not meant to be prescriptive. It's not telling you how to build a deck. It's just letting you know these are the cards people throw into these decks. So you can use this as a jumping off point. Either this seems like a good idea, we should do it, or everybody is doing that, let's find something else to do. So I know there's some, not controversy, but just some people have different opinions of using EDHREC for things. It's all in how you use it. So yeah, we like to use it as a good jumping off point and then branch out from there. Anyway, lands. Some of these are already going to be in the pre-con deck. Prosper hasn't had a lot of time to be built yet, so we'll see what we got. Command Tower's already in there. Great. Blood Crypt. Cards like Blood Crypt, your dual lanes, things like that. If we end up with a bunch of ways to fetch out lands, we'll throw them in. Otherwise, there's not really a good reason to have Blood Crypt in the deck. It's just a dual land that costs you life to come in untapped. So if we end up with a bunch of fetch effects, we'll do it. Otherwise, we won't. Some fetch effects we might use, for example, are like Dragon Skull, or not fetch effects, other dual lands that work better are things like Dragon Skull Summit. We can usually be assured that we're going to have... I wonder if I could interest you in Amaze's End. We tried that. We tried that last time, Jumi. Everybody immediately hated and feared me for it, and I got targeted real fast and early. I don't know if you watched that Commander Kingdom, but boy howdy did people not like me playing Maze's End. Well, not people. I think the chat liked it a lot, but the other players were immediately like, we must kill that man. We must kill him dead and make sure his blood never soils the earth again. So we might skip Maze's End this time, although it was a good and hilarious suggestion at the time, and I thank you for it. Moving on. Bloodstained Mire for now we'll skip. Fetches for fetch's sake aren't super necessary. I get the feeling we're going to have plenty of ways to draw cards and hit our land drops and whatnot, so I'm not overly worried about being able to fetch up the right color of mana yet. We're also going to have a bunch of artifact mana, so we're good. Snow-covered mountains, if we have a reason to play snow, maybe, but by itself, don't care. Smoldering Marsh has already started in the deck. It's certainly not the worst of the duels, but it's not at all exciting. Same thing for Sulphur Springs. Snow-covered swamps, whatever. Luxury Suite is $30. It is one of the better dual lanes in Commander. We'll throw it in for now. It might end up getting cut for money reasons. We'll see. Graven Cairns is fine. I don't know how I feel about the filter lands a lot of the time. They're pretty good, but they can be very awkward if they're like your opening hand lanes. Yeah, they're weird. I don't know that I'm going with it yet. Blight Step, Seer Step Pathway is fine. I like it better than some of the other duels like we have up here. Even though they technically only end up tapping for one color of mana, they're still good. So we'll throw one in. Badlands, too expensive. All the other fetches we kind of already covered. City of Brass. I don't know why you're playing City of Brass in a 2-color deck. Unless you have a reason to be dealing yourself damage, don't do it. There's plenty of other options. It's fine. I have an irrational hatred for filter lands. I don't have an irrational hatred for them. I think I just got burned one too many times by having them be like in my opening hand with some other lands that weren't exactly fast and needing to be able to like play more colored things on turn 1. And the fact that they need the other colored mana to tap, it's very corner casey. It doesn't happen a lot, but it can occasionally make you trip up and not be great. Anyway, Myriad Landscape, it's great. I like the green version of it better, which is the Blighted Woodland or something. We aren't playing green. Myriad Landscape does a good enough impression. It's just a little slower. As it enters the battlefield tap, although it technically costs less to activate once it is untapped, so we'll go with it. What else do we got? Temple of Malice, I like that in the Zalfrin Void slot. It doesn't tap for mana the turn it comes in, but it taps for better mana once it can, so sure. Canyon Slough I like. I am a big fan of cycling lands. I'll say it every single time we do one of these. Anything that cycles or a land that can become a different card, I'll take every time. Excuse me. Gemstone Caverns, that's like a CEDH card, right? We don't really have a need for it in this. Yeah, I don't really think we need it. I can understand why it's a good EDH card, just because you have a much bigger chance of not being the starting player, but it needs to be in your opening hand, and we aren't like aggressively mulliganing to get it. So no. Forbidden Orchard, we don't need our opponents to have creatures this time. No. Foreboding Ruins, we can probably end up doing better. The Carnarium, the Mine, nah. Tainted Peak, I think, already starts in there, as does the Ridge. Fabled Passage, I certainly don't mind having some amount of fetching, and that's not too expensive. We can throw one in for now. The slow fetches, don't care about. Spire of Industry, I don't think we're that hurting for colored mana. We probably are going to end up running a decent amount of artifacts, but yeah, I don't think we need it. So that is 7 cards we're throwing in so far. Path of Ancestry, no. We might end up playing a bunch of creatures that are, well, probably not that many tieflings, and probably not that many warlocks, so, oh, it's color, it's not type, never mind. Tainted lands are kind of cool. I like the idea of the tainted lands, and it's probably not that hard for us to have a swamp. That might be the last one of those lands I cut if I do end up cutting them. We'll see. Real quick, just make sure some of that phone buzzing isn't something I really need to pay attention to. Doesn't seem to be. Alright, so, with those 7 lands, yeah, that seems like a decent-ish upgrade on some of those things. Let's go and add them into our deck. Sorry, I gotta click like 3 things every time I want to change something here. Alright, so, we're going to add in... Ooh, that was terrible. Why did it do that? Because I did it in the wrong thing. I love answering my own questions. Okay. We're getting there. We're getting there, Chad. Alright, so we're adding in 7 lands. We need to cut 7 lands to do it. We could almost just cut 4 swamp and 3 mountain and call it good. I'm kind of tempted to do that, actually. Yeah, sure, why not? So we go down to 10 swamps, 10 mountains, update that. Land count stays the same. Our lands are a little more interesting now. Let us update the way some of these things look on screen. There we go. Refresh you. Come on, I believe in you. That's not refreshed. Why aren't you refreshed? Maybe if I go to a different screen and back. Weird. It's refreshed on, like, my screen. It's not refreshed in OBS. That's crazy. Now it's working. Alright. No, it just refreshed it without the, Oh, because I didn't save it in the other screen. Alright. I'm foolish. Ignore me, everybody. There we go. Alright, we refreshed that. Now it's going to work. Alright, so yeah, we're already up about 50 bucks. Oh, lands. Oh, lands and magic. You are wonderful. There's one card up there you can't see, which is Apex of Power. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Let's just update the visual view just to be consistent. And then back to EDHREC, moving on to utility lands. Is there stuff we want to do that we don't already have in the deck? Let's see. Urborg can be fun. If we end up with needing a ton of black mana, maybe, but I think we're going to be playing more X spells than just black, so we'll see. Phyrexian Towers also maybe if we end up needing it, sure, but otherwise I don't see a reason. Bajuka Bog's already in there. Ancient Tomb, I don't know if we're in that much of a rush. Merchant Zone, the flash thing is always fun. We'll see. Cabal Coffers, same thing as with like the Urborg. If we end up needing a ton of black mana, maybe. Lockthwain I definitely like. We will throw in Lockthwain. Let's clear our clipboard there. Treasure Vault would be fantastic for our deck. Unfortunately, we aren't adding any new AFR cards that aren't already in there, so no. No on War Room as well. We can do better. Urza's Saga? I don't think so. The search function on it is interesting. Just go grab Soul Ring at the very least. Maybe, but like, by itself, I don't think so. I am, as ever, a fan of Command Beacon. If you have a Command Beacon, you should throw it into Commander decks. Especially if you plan on casting and using your Commander a lot. Like if you have a Commander that's going to get killed a bunch because people don't like it or whatever. Throw in Command Beacon. Just do it. It's great. Reliquary Tower, I'm also fine throwing in there. Rogue's Passage, I don't know if we're winning by attacking or by other means, so I don't know how necessary that one is. So that was only 3 cards that time. Much easier to deal with. Let's see what we're cutting to add those in. Edit. I do want to keep some amount of basics just for searching up purposes and whatever else. So, Zalfrin Void can go. What was the other one I was thinking of that can go? We had... There are a few, but I'm blanking right now. Mortuary Mire, we already have Lockthwain. Tainted Peak can stay, Carnarium can stay for now. Marsh wasn't the one I'm thinking of, is it? Marsh kind of fine. Shadowblood Bridge can go. And Foreboding Ruins. Alright, that seems fine. Added another $7 or so to our total. Update those real quick. That and visual. Not awful so far. Alright, so we're good on lands for now. We might still tweak a couple of things. I might throw in a Ghost Quarter or something just because I feel like Ghost Quarter is always a good thing to have. We'll see. For now, Ramp and Rocks. Let us look at how we are going to ramp and which rocks we want to throw in. Probably more rocks than ramp given our color combination. What does this deck come with already? We have a Soul Ring already in there, we have our Rakdos Signet, and we have an Arcane Signet. So those first 3 are good. We do not have a Mana Crypt. Probably not shelling out the money for a Mana Crypt or a Jeweled Lotus, so no there. Like I said, we probably are going to be an artifact deck, but I don't know that we need the fixing that Moss Opal gives us, and the acceleration can be great, but again, I don't think we're that much of an artifact deck, so we'll see. Prismatic Lens? Really? Just a filter? People must be really building this to be a artifact deck if they're throwing that in there. Interesting. What else do we got? We got Soul Talisman, Chrome Mox, no, Mana Vault. Man, these are just all like the big hitters. Thought Vessel I'm a fan of, we can do that. Lotus Bloom, probably not. Liquid Metal Torque? Why? Cursed Mirror is kind of funny, but it is an AFR. Is that in our deck already? I don't even know. No. What else do we got? We have a Felwar Stone. We have a Commander Sphere. Which are both fine. We have a Mind Stone. Orazka Relic is also interesting. Talisman of Indulgence, Unstable Obelisk. Yeah, this deck already comes preloaded with a decent amount of ramp. I think we're good other than adding in, what was it? Thought Vessel? What do we want to replace for Thought Vessel? Maybe the Unstable Obelisk is an interesting card in here. It's 3 mana for add a colorless, 7, tap it, sacrifice it, destroy target permanent. That's funny once it's active. It's kind of bad before that. Might cut that. Yeah. Of the rocks they're giving us, I think that's the one. Actually, Felwar Stone. We're cutting Felwar Stone. I don't like Felwar Stone effects in 2-color decks. Alright. So, Felwar Stone, very sorry. But you are becoming a Thought Vessel. What does that do? That actually takes us down in price. Not bad. Hedron Archive is a rock I've liked more than random 3 manas. That's fair. I don't mind Hedron Archive either. Of our 3 mana ones, Commander Sphere automatically draws us a card. Or not automatically, but at essentially no cost draws us a card. Uraz Karelic gains us 3 life and draws us a card. But we need the City's Blessing to do it. So yeah, we can get rid of Uraz Karelic. I'm fine throwing in a Hedron Archive. I like anything we can do in this color combination to also randomly draw cards is probably a good call. Hedron Archive. Alright, we'll see if there's much in the way of ramp I can do here, but I don't know what that's going to look like in black-red. So, where's the window? There it is. Alright, what do we got? Let's go... I guess we just start going down the list. Anything in Enchantments real quick that's rampy? What do we got? Curse of Opulence. Is that already in the deck? I think it's already in the deck. It isn't already in the deck. We're definitely throwing Curse of Opulence into the deck. It's not treasure, it's gold, but with one of our win conditions that works just as well. Yeah. So, clear that. Add Curse of Opulence. I'll count it as a ramp spell for our purposes. Any of these else count as ramp, really? Shiny Impetus kind of works as ramp, and it's already in the deck. It is one of the new cards from this set, I believe. Cryptghast ramp, we might get there. What else do we got? Yeah. That's kind of it as far as enchantment ramp. Wow, crazy. Alright, let's just start at the top and see what we got. Anything that ramps. Ragavan technically could be ramp. I'm not paying $100 for the monkey. I know he's very good. It's great. Not doing it. Oh, Zorn's fun. Zorn is also a card we don't already have in the deck. Dang it. Direfleet Daredevil, no. Jessica's Will can count as ramp. It's all red mana. That's a decent possibility, though. Commune with Lava is a fun one we might throw in. Is that already in here, too? I should be looking at some of this stuff. Commune with Lava is already in the deck. Jessica's Will is not. Who'd have thought? Valakut Exploration is good, but who cares? Not seeing a ton of other rampy sort of things. Bergie can be funny. What is Felwar Stone doing here? Whatever. Seen some stuff we're definitely going to throw in the deck just for funsies in a bit. Chandra Torch is kind of rampy. And also just good. And works with our commander. Sure, I'll count it for now. Do we have any Planeswalkers in the deck? None to start with. Alright. What do we have? Stormkiln Artist does not start in our deck. We can throw that in there. I'm counting that as ramp just because it does what we want it to do with treasures for doing stuff we want to do, which is cast spells anyway. Bar. Academy Manufactor we can definitely throw in. I don't think we're making many clues or food. We're definitely making treasures, and having more clues and food is never a bad thing. Just having a ton of mana might not be a bad thing for some reason, seeing as how Marionette Master is already a card in the deck. Seems pretty okay. Stuff like Author of Shadows is fun enough, I guess, although it's not already in the deck. Sadness. Magmatic Channeler, no. There's not a ton of ramp in these fellers, is there? Crazy. Disciple of the Vault is another funny thing we can throw into the deck, but that's for a little later. Solemn's ramp. We can always use a good Solemn. Not desperate enough for Simian Spirit Guide, I think. We could do stuff like Lannery Storm. Do we want to do Lannery Storm? I don't know how I feel about Lannery Storm. I don't know that Lannery Storm is worth it. It's just a 2/2 that makes treasures when it attacks. Yeah, I don't know. Squeeze funny if we throw in Berkey, but we'll see. Hoarding Ogre isn't bad, but it is from this new set and it doesn't already start in the deck. Fine. Yeah, wow, there's really not a lot of ramp for us. We do have a ton of artifact ramp, though, which isn't bad. Like, I'm not terribly worried. I'm not big on the one-time ramp if we can help it. Can throw in things like the, these sort of stuff, but don't really care at the moment. We're good on lands. Bunch of rituals. Are you in there already? Unexpected Windfall. You are not. That's unfortunate. Could do Reign of Filth. Not going to do Reign of Filth. Culling the Weak is a thought, isn't it? It's one shot, though? Is it a one shot? Culling the Weak? What's the Oracle text on Culling the Weak? As an additional cost sacrifice, 4 mana, one shot. Alright, never mind. Yeah, that might do it. Wow. Rousing Refrain? Interesting. Thin Blast, Wheels. Interesting. Throes of Chaos I like in this deck. We'll get there. It just is, I have never found another good spot for it, and Cascade does cast things from Exile. Brass's Bounty should definitely be in here if it isn't already. Yes, we'll throw in a Brass's Bounty. Interesting. Madness is going to be soon. That is definitely in my list of things to do. Pretty much shortly after this step, we get to doing silly things like that. Strike it rich gives us a treasure, but that's it, and it flashes back once. We can do better. Like, Brass's Bounty kind of fills that spot that I was looking for. Alright, yeah, that's about it. 6 cards we're adding in so far. I think I'm going to go through and figure out what cards we're adding in, and then we'll add everything, and then we'll figure out what we're cutting. That seems like the best way to kind of go about this right now. So for now, we've done our ramps and... Oop, wrong bit. We already knew our theme and rules. I hit the wrong spot. Fixing that real quick. Progress is what I wanted to go for. Draw and removal. Madness cards do go to Exile. So the way Madness works, if you would discard a card with Madness, you instead exile it. Then you may cast it. It is technically cast from Exile. If you don't cast it, then it just goes to the graveyard like normal. So Madness should work with Prosper. It's real silly, isn't it? Alright. Card draw, card removal. Start at the top again. Let's figure stuff out. Feed the Swarm is just good, and it takes care of a problem that we're going to have in these colors, which is enchantments. So I am down for Feed the Swarm. Jessica's Will. So here's the thing. Draw is going to be... Oop, wrong button. Draw is going to be a little weird in this deck because we don't necessarily actually want a lot of normal draw. We want the red effect. Like, normal draw is great. If we can get it, fantastic. What we want is a lot of the effect where you can exile cards and then cast them. So, like, things that let us exile cards from the top of our library, like Atali Primal Storm, things like that. It's not even our library, but you know what I mean. That's good. That's what we want. Commune Flop is already in the deck. That's a weird one. We might do that. We'll see. Valky and Tybalt do let us cast things from Exile. Not the Valky side, but the Tybalt Cosmic Imposter thing does. Once you exile those cards, you get the emblem. You may cast cards exiled with Tybalt. Blah, 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 blah. So, yes, we do want Tybalt. I'll even throw in a Jessica's Will. That's a lot of our money already, but whatever. We'll figure it out. What else do we got? Oppo Agent's good. I'm not going to bother. It's still mean. It's also hard doing that over Webcam Commander. So, we're not going to do it. Spectacle with the light up the stage? That's a thought. Yeah, I'm fine with that. It's cheap. It does what we want it to do. Valakut Exploration. You can even stack effects to get around some Grave Hate. Indeed. Yeah, Madness. We have a video on how it works on Card Kingdom. It's a YouTube site. You can go look it up. We have a whole series of, like, how does this mechanic work? Madness is one of those ones that on its face seems very simple. When you discard a card, you may cast it instead for its Madness cost. How that has to work within the rules gets really technical, really involved, and you can do a lot of crazy weird stuff with it, but there's a lot of crazy weird stuff that goes with it. So there's a lot of fiddly bits with Madness that you might not think there need to be. Alright. What do we got? Valakut Exploration. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under control, exile the copy of your library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. That is a good thing. A lot of these effects we're going to find for the exile, like let you play the exiled card until the end of turn or until the end of your next turn. Effects that let us just play it for as long as they remain exiled are fantastic and what we want. And Valakut Exploration is not already in this deck, so we're going to go ahead and throw that in. This one does have the caveat, so it doesn't do exactly what I just said. Because at the beginning of my end step, if there are cards exiled with it, you put them into my graveyard, and then Exploration deals that much damage to each opponent. I still think we can work with this card. It can do stuff. Yeah. Dream Devourer we absolutely want, because if you're casting things that have been foretold, that is also casting things from exile. So, Foretell, Madness, any of those effects, those are things we want. Foretell, sadly, In Kaldheim, not the biggest in red and black, but we do have Dream Devour, which lets us give all of our things Foretell. Praetor's Grasp, again, not that great in Webcam Commander, at least not that easy to work around, so we'll skip it for now. Well, this is funny. I do like Stolen Strategy. I get the feeling if I play it, I'm going to immediately be ganged up on, because that sort of effect is not things somebody likes. So off the top of my head, anything with Cascade, Rebound, Suspend, or Adventure would be good, right? Correct. Yeah, there's a lot of options for Prosper, which is why I was kind of looking forward to building with him. The problem is going to be cutting down on those things. Cunning Rhetoric looks fantastic. It's an enchantment. Do we already have that in our deck? We don't. What set is that? Can anybody tell me what set symbol that is? Off the top of my head, I have no idea. Real quick, we're just gonna... What set are you? You're not gonna tell me what set you are you? Fine. C21. Alright, we can throw it in the deck. Let's do that. Discourage people, thank you, Buntek, from attacking me is always fantastic. Bergie, what do you do, Harnfell? Yeah, Bergie and Harnfell might be worth it just for the Harnfell ability. Yep, Foretell we're definitely doing. Ubamask is funny. It's Ubamask. If any player would draw a card, not just me, that player removes that card from the game face up instead, so works well on Webcam Commander as far as that goes. Each player may play cards he or she removed from the game with Ubamask this turn. So this turn is important because you're basically stopping your opponents from being able to plan ahead too much. They have to do everything right now. That plays a little better in our colors, generally, than in, like, blue, for example. And it also means that, yeah, all of our spells work that way. So yeah, we can throw in an Ubamask. That's funny. Gonti's already in the deck. Gonti's great for what we want to do. Blasphemous Act. Yeah, I mean, Rads are always good to have. Aren't there a bunch of Chandras that Chandra? We already do have the Torch of Defiance in the deck that I'm keeping in. We also have the newest Tybalt, the red-black one. I don't like overloading too many Planeswalkers, because the moment people think you're playing Super Friends, or even once you start playing too many Planeswalkers, people just try to kill you real fast, because, yeah, that's one of those political things that's weird in Commander. Planeswalkers still remain good. I don't like throwing in too many because it can make you a target. However, you are absolutely right on the Chandras. I am throwing in at least one. The end. The reason we're throwing in that Chandra, by the way, Torch of Defiance, is because it also works as ramp. And seeing as how we're going to be exiling a lot of cards and doing stuff that we need to do the turn we do it, having that extra 2 red mana could be pretty useful. Outpost Siege. That's pretty good. It gives us another option every turn. And it isn't already in the deck. How is that not already in the deck, of all things? Feels like Outpost Siege would be a slam dunk to get reprinted there. Chaos Warp, you aren't casting things, it's fine, but don't care. Dockside Extortionist. So, yes, Dockside Extortionist would be excellent in this deck. It's $70. I'm not going to do it. Sorry. Revel in Riches. Do I want the alt-win condition of Revel in Riches? I think if I were playing this in paper and I were doing it not for a webcam game that we're going to stream, the answer would be yes, because it's easy enough to just shuffle up again and start playing. For now, I'm going to say no. We tried the alt-win con deck last time with Maze's End, which required a lot more work to actually happen. Making 10 treasures, if you really try, isn't that tricky. And we're going to have another slightly combo kill with treasures in the deck anyway. Yeah, that is why no Ragavan. See one of the rules over there? There, that way. That way. The deck started out as $104 if you just put all the cards into Card Kingdom, which is why it's a good deal to buy the Precon. Buy that from Card Kingdom. It is pretty good value. Yeah, we have a $200 limit that we can upgrade, so we have $300 total to play around with for the cards. So, yes, throwing in things like Ragavan and Dockside Extortionist takes up most of our budget right there. And I want a lot of like $5 and $6 cards, so have to make some choices. What else we got? Grenzo Havoc Razor. Never a creature. We have plenty of that effect. I do like Goad as a thing, but also there's whenever a creature. He's not bad. Maybe. We'll see. Goldspan Dragon. Goldspan Dragon I like. Ooh, it's $28. Gross. No worries. Don't worry about not reading stuff. My job is also to just say a bunch of things to you. I fully understand people who just listen to streams. That's the thing. Especially for streams like this, where it's not like I'm not playing a video game. There's not a bunch of visual stuff going on. You just kind of have to listen to me talk and point at pictures of cards. It's all good. Goldspan Dragon would be fantastic. It's kind of spendy. We'll see how our budget is doing at the end. Magda's fun if we have enough dwarves to pull it off. We do have Stormkiln Artists that we're adding to the deck already. Maybe? We'll see. Robber of the Rich is very good. I feel we need to be playing a little more aggressive deck or in a little more aggressive meta, just because Robber of the Rich, if it doesn't come out on turn 2 and 3, it's just, you get one attack in with it, and that's kind of it, because everybody else has established enough of a board state they can just block and kill it. Yeah. Reckless Fireweaver is going to be one of our win cons. Draugr Necromancer, if non-token creature, you may cast spells. Snow sources. So that Draugr Necromancer would be the reason to play Snowlands, wouldn't it? Maybe. We'll see. The big thing here, our biggest win con, our silliest win con, our almost instant win con in certain circumstances is Marionette Master, which, God bless Wizards, they put in the deck to start with. Like, I don't have to add it, it's already there. Fabricate 3, so when it enters the battlefield, it either gets 3 1/1 counters, or you make 3 colorless 1/1 servo artifact creature tokens. We're aiming to always put the counters on it, so it's a 4/7, or yeah, 4/6, sorry, a 4/6. Because of its second ability, whenever an artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, target opponent loses life equals to Marionette Master's power. So if we have a bunch of treasures, Marionette Master comes down, is automatically a 4. We cast a 5 mana thing just using our treasures, one opponent takes 20. Marionette Master is very good in a treasure deck, and it's kind of an obvious one, but it's also just super powerful and very combo-y, which is why I'm kind of surprised Wizards threw it into the precon. That's all. Don't really have much more to say than that. Magmatic Chandler. That's fine. I think we're going to have enough of those effects that I'm not overly worried. Author of Shadows. Exile all cards from all opponents' graveyards. Choose a non-land card exiled. This way you may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled. I'm kind of okay with that. It doesn't do a lot else, though. It's just a vanilla 3/3 after that. Maybe. Like, it's fantastic Grave Hate. I don't know how much I'm going to need that, though. I feel like we already had something else that doubles as Grave Hate, but whatever. Hellkite Tyrant's funny. We could control 20 or more artifacts. I don't want to throw that many I just win the game effects in the stream. Even Marionette Master. In a full-on EDH game, it's hard to 40 everybody in a turn. Because that requires 30 treasures or some other artifacts that can get sacked some way. So, yeah, Hellkite Tyrant I'm going to skip for now. Abbot of Carol Keep is the same kind of problem as some of the other cards I've been pointing out, which is that they're fine for the one-time effect they have. The prowess can make them decent, but for the most part, they are immediately outclassed as creatures on the field and will just die to anything. Yeah. Bray's Apprentice is funny. Whenever it enters battlefield, you create the 1/1 colorless Thopter. Great, don't really care. However, tap, sack an artifact, exile the top card until the end of your next turn you may play that card. Decent effect that we like in this deck. and then, or target creature gets +2/+0, but it is an artifact sacrifice outlet that lets us exile cards from our libraries. That one's a maybe. Murderous Rider, I get, oh wait, it's the adventure thing, isn't it? Yeah, we want that. That's good removal. And or draw. Conspiracy Theorist isn't bad. Conspiracy Theorist might go in just to let us, that second half. Like, I don't know how often we're going to be attacking with it and paying the one and discarding a card. We also do need discard outlets if we're going to do Madness, don't we? That's an issue. If we end up with going with Madness as our way of doing it as opposed to, like, Adventure, Foretell, all those sort of things, Conspiracy Theorist goes in. Other than that, I'm not sure. Kalain Reclusive Plainter is going to be fantastic. Unfortunately, it is an AFR card, and we don't have a ton of room for that. So, sorry, Kalain, you would be fantastic, but not now. Hey, Quicksmith Genius works well for our Madness thing. Alright, so Quicksmith Genius goes in, so does Conspiracy Theorist. Because that is a pretty great combo right there. Disciple of the Vault, I'm fine going in as another win con. Like, those sort of Disciple of the Vault Marionette Masters that are pretty combo-y, but they're answerable. There are ways to kill them before I can take full advantage of them, unless I have the board set up perfectly. Things that say just win the game, I feel, are the ones that are a lot less fun. Again, just making sure nothing on my phone is blowing up in a way that I need to pay attention to. Imperial Recruiter is a good card. I have stated before my feelings on tutors. I have no problem with anybody else playing tutors. Part of why I play EDH is for the massive variance. Just the fun swinginess of it. Tutors smooth that out a bit, and if I'm going to have that kind of deck where I'm absolutely looking to completely undo variance, I'm just going to play Constructed of some kind, because that's what Constructed decks. Tier 1 competitive Constructed decks largely work off of trying to eliminate any variance. You want the game to play the same every time, or like the same general rhythm. That's no fun to me in Commander. If I'm playing like competitive Commander, CEDH, or even just like we're all agreeing we're going to play a competitive, like we're playing to win as fast as we can, absolutely stuff like Imperial Recruiter goes in. Not if I'm trying to play for funsies and make a silly stream. Granted, some of the people we play with, they come prepared to win, so like the decks I make, I try to make to be able to compete. Like, they can do silly broken stuff. People were really scared of Garth last time, Jumi. There were so many dumb things I could do with Garth. But people kept killing all the fun things I could do with Garth because they were so scared of Garth. I even tried to build Garth in a way where I couldn't really infinite with him, and it turns out the moment you put in one card that untaps a permanent, you can go infinite with Garth pretty easily if it is at all repeatable. Yeah, just like the moment you can, what's the one? Freed from the Real? Sorry for the tangent for the last time. But yeah, like Jeskai Ascendancy, Freed from the Real, that one creature, the Chakram Retriever, you instantly infinite with Garth, just making a million Black Lotuses, because every time you cast a non-creature spell, he untaps. We try not to do that too much on this stream is the point. Yes. I don't know what started all that. That kind of one got away from me, but whatever. Going on. Dark Confidant is a good card. I'm not putting it in here. I will kill myself with Dark Confidant. I have before in the past. Pitiless Plunder creates treasures when things dies. Yes, absolutely. Dualcaster Mage is a good card that I don't know that I need in here. Yeah. Holy crap, Pitiless Plunder is $15. Sure. I mean, I can kind of see why, and it is combo-tastic. Gadrat, Crown Surge, Grand Step. Sure. Maybe? I don't know how often I'm killing creatures. Maybe. Simeon, no. Karu Mind Eater. It's just the menace, and then once it dies, we can't play the exiled cards anymore. Nah. Whenever a token I control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses a life and I gain a life? Sure, that's silly. It's a wonder how I play Magic the Gathering. Reading the card does explain the card a lot of times, unless it's a very obscure keyword that isn't explained at all. Reading the card does not explain any card that has banding on it. When Impulsive Pilfer dies, create a treasure token, and then you can encore it. That's fine, I don't care. Bone Crusher. What do we think, chat? Is Bone Crusher worth it in Commander? It's definitely good. It can do some stuff. I mean, sure. Lannery we've talked about. Steamkin, another combo-rific card. I don't know how often we're storming off. I think we're doing a lot more manipulation of, like, making a ton of tokens and sacking them for value and doing things that way, as opposed to, like, trying to storm out, essentially. Pocrocite is fun but slow as a suspend card. Maybe? Eternal Scourge I like. We can only cast it from Exile, though. We can't cast it from the graveyard. I know the Prosper only cares about Exile. If we... yeah, maybe. I don't know. That one's weird. Merchant of the Veil's fun, especially if we end up madnessing at all. Oblivion Sower. So here's the thing, it's probably a good card. The putting lands and opponent controls into battlefield under my control, we can do it with the infinite tokens, but that's just a lot of trouble. Wildfire Devil seems funny. Choose a player at random, that player exiles. Sure, we can do that. Don't care about Treasonous Ogre. Jury's kind of a fun alt-win con. Squee does some fun stuff, but we'd end up mostly casting from our graveyard, which don't think Prosper cares about, right? It's just exile whenever you can play a card from exile, yeah. Order of Midnight. We like adventure, but the creature side does almost nothing. Boast. Varagoth is fun, especially the way the boast is worded, but no, it doesn't do enough again. Breaches? Chandler's fine. Chainer. Chainer's kind of funny. Chainer just works well. The second ability works well with half of our plan anyway. Just anything we're casting from exile gains haste. Alright, instants. Poison the Cup I like as removal for us. Deflecting Swat's fine, but I don't care right now. Not for this deck. A lot of this like one-shot removal stuff is technically good and fine, but we're gonna have enough stuff that can do things like that. Like Bedevil's already in the deck. Bituminous Blast is in the deck. Geez, 4 damage to target creature and then Cascade. That's fun. Might keep that in. I don't know. Rakdos Charm is also in there. Stuff like Rakdos Charm is good, but it's just kind of boring. Like if we're playing against another token deck, it becomes a way to knock a player out of the game, which is always good, but meh. What else do we got? Things like Deadly Rollick are obviously good, but again. Rise the Dead Marn is fun, and it does foretell, but it's so hard to control. I guess it's more just about... I mean, sure. Stuff like Thrill is good. I don't know how big... We haven't gone that big on Madness yet. Stuff like Demon Bolt's kind of mad at me. Unexpected Windfall would be pretty good. It's sadly from AFR. We aren't using other AFR cards at the moment. Same with Deadly Dispute. There's the Blast. See, Imp's Mischief I just love throwing in decks, but it's not really on theme or do anything specific for us here. I'll throw it in for now, but it might end up getting cut. Costly Plunder's fine. It's a lot of things I'm just kind of meh about. Galvanic Relay isn't bad in the Storm stuff, but I think we have enough effects that do that without only doing that, if that makes sense. Rousing Refrain can be fun. It does suspend and it just re-exiles. So yeah, Rousing Refrain I can see us throwing in there. Deluge is good. I think we're going to have enough removal otherwise. We have like Vandal Blast in there already. We have in the deck already Phthisis. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about it. Like, that one's probably getting cut. That's probably where the Blasphemous Act will go. We also have Hex in the deck. God, I love that Wizards threw Hex into the deck to start with. 4 black, destroy 6 target creatures at sorcery. You must have 6 targets, no more, no less. What a weird thing. Okay, anyway. What else we got? Vandal Blast is already in the deck. Throes of Chaos is funny, isn't it? Maybe. Mizzix's Mastery should definitely go in the deck, right? It's just funny. It exiles everything and we cast a bunch of stuff again from exile. Yeah, I think that is funny and big enough. Whether it wins us the game, I don't know. Apex of Power is also in the deck already. What do you do, Apex of Power? I think you're already in the deck, right? Yeah. Exile top 7 cards of your library. You may cast cards among them. If the spell was cast from your hand, add 10 mana of any one color. Like that. Here's the thing. That's good. Can't play lands from it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's going to end up being one of the ones we cut, actually. We have enough things to exile. Yeah, I don't know. Don't really care about the wheels too much. Like, we're exiling enough cards that we can play that I don't think we have the need to fill up our hands. Which technique are you? What do you do? Demonstrate. Yeah, when you cast the spell, you may copy it. If you do, an opponent also copies it. I mean, that's big and silly. I like big and silly, and it lets an opponent do something big and silly, and we get to do something big and silly twice. I'm fine with it. Mana Geyser is funny. That's a maybe. Finale of Promise is really funny. We can throw that in there. Heat Shimmer, don't care. Soulfire Eruption. None of these cards are already in there already, right? Finale Promise, no. Soulfire Eruption is a sorcery? No. Alright. Well, Light Up the Stage was already in there. You can get rid of that on the list then. This gets very talking to myself mumbly after a while, sorry. Choose any number of target creatures, planeswalkers, and/or players. For each of them, exile the top card of your library, and Soulfire Eruption deals damage equal to that card's converted mana cost. And then you may play the exile. Like, it's good, it's 9 mana, I don't care. I don't even know if it's good. It just does stuff. Night's Whisper Eats the Bones. Solid cards. Boring. Volcanic Torrent is a 5-mana cascade spell. Deals X damage to each creature. Oh, it's kind of a stormy one. Yeah, that's a thing, isn't it? Kind of already talked about some of these. Torment of Hailfire would be a decent win con in this deck. We have a couple of other ways to already semi-combo off and do stuff with big mana things. Yeah, I'm fine without it. A Foretell Pyroclasms, kind of mad at me. Yeah. Living Death is fun. You aren't actually casting the creatures. Consuming Vapors is already in the deck. And yeah, that's where we're at for now. So that was 36 cards. Real quick, I'm going to look at Card Kingdom just to see what cards actually in red and black do things with treasure that we haven't already looked at, if there are any. Zorn would be good. Unfortunately, it is an AFR, as it says over there. We aren't adding more AFR cards for reasons. Pretty sure Forsworn Paladin. Oh, you just do stuff with treasure. Pirate's Pillage, discard a card, draw 2 cards, create 2 colorless treasure artifact tokens. Real quick, chat, while I'm scrolling through this, what red or black madness card should I be throwing in to try and do stuff with? Because we have a couple of discard outlets that we've thrown into the deck. Oof, it's got kind of a weird lightheadedness all of a sudden. I need to drink more water. My water is out for the moment, however, so I'll grab more right after this. Remove a counter from a creature I control, create treasure. Oh, that's interesting enough, Fane. I wasn't putting a lot of counters on creatures, though. Whenever you win a coin flip, create 2 treasure tokens, but I'm not flipping coins otherwise. Surly Badger Sword does things, I guess. Seize the Spoils isn't the worst, but it's not great. Yeah, alright. Well, we got 36 cards for now that we need to figure out a way to get into the deck. Yeah, nothing out here is really super jumping out to me that we didn't already look at. Interesting. People have to attack me? How set up am I if people must attack me? That's a dangerous card, isn't it? Alright, that's all. Good and well enough. Alright, let's figure out what we are adding and or subtracting from this deck. So we're adding in a whole bunch of random stuff. Go to the right thing here. So this is the deck as it sits. Let me adjust that so you're actually seeing the right bit. We're at $157 with all of this. some of these cards are quite funny. And we're going to have a time trying to edit this down, I think. So our progress is kind of weird since we kind of did we're kind of building the theme, doing utility stuff already. The rest of this is pretty much going to be trying to edit it down to the last 100. So we're adding in, I think, 35 cards technically. So I think I had to light up the stage in there. We already had one of those. So let me just go through the clipboard real quick. Yeah, a bunch of instant sorceries. Get rid of light up the stage. The rest of these I'm pretty sure are new. So we copy that. And now I have to trim stuff out of the list you already see. So, what don't we care about? I know I don't care about Apex of Power already. Sorry, just getting a different view up here. That lets me go through these things a little better. Going through the creatures, we'll just start with. I don't have it in exactly the same order y'all do, so yeah, we'll see. Chittering Witch, just stuff that came. Chittering Witch, I think, yeah. Enters the battlefield, create a number of 1/1 black rat creature tokens equal to the number of opponents you have. So 3, sacrifice creature, target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. That's a sack outlet for creatures that lets us destroy other people's creatures, but has no real synergy otherwise. So I'm fine cutting Chittering Witch. There's one. So that's 2, Apex Power and Chittering Witch. Fiend of the Shadows. Flying 3/3 for 5. Whenever a Fiend of the Shadows deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles a card from his or her hand. You may play the card as long as it remains exiled. That's the nice version of that. Sacrifice a human, regenerate Fiend of the Shadows. It's 3/3 flyer for 5 that does decent stuff but has to hit. That will hit a decent amount of the time. At least one of our opponents will probably not have a flyer all the time. It is 5 mana for just a 3/3 flyer that lets us exile cards from their hand. That's going to make people real angry. I like it. We're keeping it in. Gonti's already in there. Gonti's great. Marionette Master is one of our win cons. That can stay. Ogre Slumlord. Whenever another non-creature token dies, you may create a 1/1 black rat creature token. Rats you control have Death Touch. That is a pretty good way to blow up the ground, isn't it? What's the Is It Chemister do? Let's see. 2 and a red for a hasty 1/3. Red and tap, exile target instant or sorcery card from my graveyard. Then 1 and a red tap, sacrifice Is It Chemister, cast any number of exiled cards, cards exiled with Is It Chemister without paying their mana costs. So it's like a very slow build your own, what is it, Mizzix Mastery or whatever? Mizzix Mastery. But if they remove it, those cards are just exiled from my graveyard forever. It is a one-shot for that because you do have to sacrifice the Chemister to make that work. The haste is nice. The 1/3 body and commander isn't great. The fact that it's on a creature and takes a bunch of turns to be really big, or like really impactful. I mean, we can somehow discard some huge instant or sorcery and cast it the next turn, essentially. But enough people are going to have some kind of removal and board wipes and things like that that I am a little hesitant to just think that it is going to work. So I'm probably going to cut that. So that's 3 cuts so far. Ogre Slumlord, Piper of the Storm. Piper of the Storm is funny. We can sacrifice rats to gain control of target creatures. Sacrifice 3 rats to gain control of target creatures for 2 black and tap it. 1 and a black, tap it, create a 1/1 black rat creature token. Rats I control have menace. Like, that and Ogre Slumlord aren't bad. Of those, I actually like Ogre Slumlord better. It's 5 mana, but whenever another non-creature token I control dies, I create a 1/1 black rat creature token, and all rats I control have Death Touch. Which seems like it is a little better at blocking up the ground. It's a little less scary than something like Piper of the Swarm because it's more defensive. So yeah, I'm gonna cut Piper, gonna keep the Slumlord, and we continue on. Pontiff of Blight. Extort. Other creatures I control have Extort. It ain't bad, but don't really care. So that gets cut. Dark Dweller Oracle is a weird one, I remember. 1 in a red, 1 sack creature, exile the top card of my library. I may play that card this turn. It is only a 2/2 for 2 that requires me sacrificing creatures to get that exile thing. I am not overly enamored of it, and we're going to cut it. I'm going to be making like rats. I can make servos. I can make some other creature tokens that I can feed to it, but it is still... yeah. Like, if I try to do that on an opponent's turn and I exile a sorcery, it's just gone, because you still have to obey timing restrictions with this. You can play lands off it, which is nice. But, yeah. Direfleet Daredevil, as I already said, I'm not the biggest fan of in Commander. It is a fantastic aggro card that is just kind of, this isn't the format for it. Dream Pillager, what do you do? 7 mana, 5 red for a 4/4 flyer. A little underwhelming right there. Whenever Dream Pillager deals combat damage to a player, exile that many cards from the top of my library until the end of turn. And we play cards exiled this way. It's the end of turn part. I think that one goes away. Itali. I mean, Itali's fantastic. We'll keep Itali. Itali almost never actually gets to attack because people kill it on sight, as they should. But that's fine. Chemister we already cut. Tectonic Giant. When it attacks or becomes target of a spell an opponent controls, choose 1. 3 damage to each opponent. Not bad. Exile the top 2 cards of my library. Choose 1 of them until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. The other card just gets exiled forever. It's the end of my next turn, which is nice, and I can just have it dome all of my opponents for 3. I can stay for now, but I'm not sure. Loyal Apprentice, a 1 in a red for a 2/1 hasty guy. With Lieutenant, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. That token gains haste until the end of turn. We have to control our commander, we have to control this guy. It's 2/1 for 2. And we just get a bunch of Thopters slowly over time. You seem fine, but you aren't terribly exciting to me. So Loyal Apprentice can go. You know what, Tectonic Giant can go too. Alright, so that is the creatures. Cold down a little bit. Consuming Vapors is great. Target player sacrifices a creature. I gain life equal to that creature's toughness, and it has Rebound, which works super well for us. Hex. Chat, should I keep Hex? 4 black, destroy 6 target creatures. You need to have 6 targets to cast it. It's funny, if we're playing against a token deck, you can usually make it work, but that seems just kind of awful. Hex is always a card I appreciate more in theory than in reality. Apex Power we already cut. Disrupt Decorum. Goad all creatures you don't control. Goading means until your next turn, those creatures attack each combat if able, and attack a player other than you if able. Oh, you might notice I skipped some of the other creatures. a lot of those creatures that I didn't talk about are already in the deck because they are new creatures that were printed specifically for this deck or an AFR. So they stay due to our rules over there. New cards stay. Anyway, Disrupt Decorum. I'm fine being a little bit chaotic, and that card always seemed funny to me, so sure. Ignite the Future. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, you may play cards this way without paying their mana cost, and it has flashback. That? Yeah, I'm fine with that. It does say play, so we can play lands from there. Phthisis. 3, black. Destroy target creature. Its controller loses life equal to its power, plus its toughness. So it can really dome people hard. It does have Suspend 5 for 1 and a black. You must cast it when it comes off Suspend. You can't just choose not to. Yeah. Which means that if you're the only one with creatures somehow, by the end of that time, you do it to yourself and you dome yourself for however much that is. That's not going to be too much of a problem with our deck. We don't have too huge of creatures. We can usually find a 1/1 to kill just from one of some sort of token, but yeah. Phthisis. I'm sorry, Phthisis. We have better options. Light Up the Stage we were already thinking of adding in, so whatever. Throes of Chaos is funny. I like it. We'll keep it in there. Cascades, which works well with our commander, and it has Retrace, so once we start drawing extra lands we don't need, we can just toss them to recast. Throes of Chaos. Part of that's going to depend on what our curve looks like, which doesn't look terrible to start, but we'll see. Let me fix this a little bit. Do enjoy the cheeky name of my deck. So for the Throes of Chaos is 4 mana, and we have a decent spread of things, like before we've even updated the deck, we have a decent spread of things that it can hit. I'm mostly okay with that. Continuing to go through some other stuff. Vandal Blast. I'll keep Vandal Blast in there. It's nice and mean and silly, but it does what it needs to do extremely well. Instance, we have a Chaos Warp. Again, we're going to have enough, there's enough possibility of problem enchantments that we're going to have trouble dealing with that I am fine keeping in some weird answers for it. Chaos Warp is fine. Commune with Lava is good being an instant, so we can do it for some amount of value on some opponent's end step, and then until the end of our next turn we get to play those cards. Bedevil is a little boring, but it does what it needs to do. We do need some amount of targeted removal, so sure. Bituminous Blast. It's 3 black-red with Cascade. It deals 4 damage to a creature. It's not terribly exciting. We're mostly playing it for the Cascade. We could Cascade into Throes of Chaos and Cascade again and just get even more value out of Prosper, so sure. Rakdos Charm is kind of boring, but it does a lot of things we need, or at least we need access to, so I'm good with it. Terminate. We have better things to do than Terminate. The reason I'm keeping Bedevil is because, Bedevil can hit a Planeswalker or an artifact as well. Terminate's just boring. I like Terminate as a card, don't get me wrong. It has done a lot of work for me in the past in various formats, but we can do better. Artifacts. Chaos Wand. 3 mana, and then cast it, and then 4 mana and tap it. Target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant or sorcery. I get to cast it without paying its mana cost, then put the exiled cards. Yes, we're keeping it. It's silly enough in Commander that I love that. A bunch of our other artifacts we've already talked about. Most of them are ramp things. Then we have enchantments that aren't new. Dead Man's Chest. Enchant creature an opponent controls. When the enchanted creature dies, exile cards equal to its power from the top of its owner's library. You may cast non-land cards from among them for as long as they remain exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast those spells. So if this were until the end of turn sort of thing, absolutely not. However, we get, once those cards are exiled with this effect, that's just something we can do until the end of the game or until that player is killed. So I like it. It's staying. Theater of Horrors is really funny. 1 black-red for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. During your turn, if an opponent lost life this turn, you may play cards exiled with Theater of Horrors. So if people blow up Theater of Horrors, we do lose those cards. 3 in a red, Theater of Horrors deals 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. I like Theater of Horrors. It's just a silly, silly thing. It can be used as like planeswalker removal over the time. It's fine. I like it. We're keeping it. Shiny Impetus. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and is goaded. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, you create a treasure token. I like this as an answer to big scary threats that could kill me, and instead they have to kill everybody else first and just give me treasure. So, sure. I'm not sure how I actually feel about goad in general, but I'll take it when I can get it. So, where are we at? We have 22 more cuts to make with what we've taken out and added. Oh boy. Okay. Well, for the moment, we'll save this and we'll update some things, but yeah, we are a little off the reservation here at the moment. Things are going nuts. I knew this was going to be the problem I ended up having. Okay. So, we have too many cards. We need to get rid of many of them. Why didn't that one? There it goes. Let's get rid of that ad at the bottom. Let's scroll down so we're looking at the actual list, which you are not going to be able to see all of now because there's too many cards. Alright, what can we get rid of? I'm kind of fine. So we have Conspiracy Theorist with what wasn't Merchant of the Veil I was thinking of. Like we didn't end up adding in a bunch of madness, so I'm kind of fine getting rid of a lot of our madness enabling suite, which would be things like was it Quicksmith Genius? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under control, discard, you may draw. So yeah. So like we cut Quicksmith Genius, we cut Merchant of the Veil, and we cut what's-his-face? Conspiracy Theorist. Yeah, that frees up some spots. We already aren't madnessing enough. What else could we get rid of for madness stuff? Jury is good at what they do, but Jury is not... I should do this on a different screen. Sorry, I have like 6 windows open, so you're seeing me kind of... The mouse is going crazy while I'm technically looking at something else. Jury will have an effect in our deck, but it's kind of secondary to our theme and what we're actually trying to do. So Jury can go away too. If we update the preview, where I think we're down to like 118 now. Yeah, 118. It says we have 39 lands. We can cut one of our lands. Where are we looking? We're a little more red than black, so we cut a swamp, I guess? Or we just cut the Fabled Passage. I don't really care about being able to fetch. Yeah, let's cut the Fabled Passage. So that takes us down to 38 lands, which is right where I like to be anyway. We have a ton of ramp in artifacts, so I'm not terribly worried about that. What do we have? We have a Warlock class, which is one of the new cards, so I can't cut it. But that's weird, because I didn't see it in the list that I was looking at otherwise. Oh, there it is. It was hiding in there. How dare it. Alright, what else do we got? We got... Just looking at creatures now. Fiend of the Shadows. Play it for as long as you remain exiled. Yes, I'll take it. Wildfire Devils is funny. So Wild Magic Sorcerer is one of the new ones. Stormkiln Artist, I think, is good. Solemn Simulacrum does what we want it to do, but it is also kind of boring and not terribly on theme. So we'll cut Solemn Simulacrum. Who'd have thought it would come to this? Commander deck that doesn't want Solemn Simulacrum. Plunderer is pretty good. We don't have a ton of like creature sack outlets, so it's not like I'm making a ton of tokens and then doing that. It's just kind of incidental. Yeah, we can cut Pitiless Plunderer. Pitiless Plunderer, I think, is also another one of those cards where if people see it, they think you're comboing off immediately, even if you are not, which is the sort of thing that has happened to me before. Is my computer freezing now? There it goes. Alright, for some reason, it doesn't want me to click on Pitiless Plunderer, it just wanted me to click anywhere else. Where are we at? Down to 115. Gonti's good. Chainer. Oh, there's the thing. Yeah, Chainer. Chainer is the discarded card, so it's technically one of our big madness enabler, but it also just works really well with our whole exiling things. It gives things haste. How much do I care about haste? How much? A lot of my creatures aren't really there to attack, they're there to just enable a bunch of other stuff. They'll kind of work by just sitting on the battlefield and occasionally getting in when they can. So Chainer by himself, I think I'm actually fine with cutting. Yeah. Oh, good lord. Computer and or Goldfish is having a time right now. Chainer went away. Here's Nightblade we keep. Murderous Rider. It's kind of boring, but it does what we want it to do. Same with Bone Crusher Giant. They are both somewhat boring cards for Commander, but the fact that they are adventures, they trigger Prosper, and they are removal. It's good. Bergie / Harnfell. The boast part of Bergie we obviously don't really care about. We get more mana whenever we cast a spell, which is nice. We aren't doing the... what is it? Grinning Ignis thing, where we just continuously cast things to get to net mana. But the Harnfell bit, where we discard a card, we exile the top 2 cards of our library, and we may play those cards this turn, isn't bad. It's just for this turn. You can play lands off of it. And we can kind of do it on command, as long as we have cards in hand. How are we going to have cards in hand, though? Like, we have some things that let us draw cards, but most of our stuff is actually exiling it so that we can play it right then. Given that, I am going to cut Bergie in what is probably a very bad call. Academy Manufactor I am definitely keeping, because just the ability to have that much value off of every time we create a treasure is pretty good. Valky is staying in mostly for the Tybalt side. Tybalt does literally everything we want it to do. Reckless Fireweaver is one of our win cons. Dream Devourer. Dream Devourer? You aren't new. Are you new? You're not new. No, you're not, but you're the thing that gives everything foretell. You're good. Disciple of Vault is a win con as well. So, that is us after having recalled our creatures, down to 21 creatures, down to 113 cards total. Planeswalkers were the Tybalt on the side of Valky and Chandra Torch of Defiance. I like having both of those. They're gonna stay. Yeah. Vandal Blast stays. It's real good. Commune with Lava, not bad. Feed the Swarm, great. Finale of Promise. Finale of Promise? You may cast up to 1 target instant, 1 target sorcery card in your graveyard with converted mana cost X or less without paying their mana cost. If X is 10 or greater, copy each of those spells twice. I mean, it works well with Prosper. We can just be casting low-cost stuff. Yeah, I'm fine with Finale Promise. Imp's Mischief. Imp's Mischief, you're very funny, but you don't really fit in the deck other than just being a good, silly card. So we're going to cut you. I'm sorry. Rakdos Charm, like I said, it's boring, but it does 3 things that we kind of want, so we'll keep it. You find prisoners we have to keep. It's new. Bedevil. Chaos Warp's good. Bedevil, I am on the fence about. We'll see. Hellish Rebuke. Oh, right, that one's funny. Hellish Rebuke, I don't even know if that's one of the new cards. Is that one of the new cards? Hellish Rebuke. Yeah. Hellish Rebuke is maybe one of my favorite new cards they're printing. It's just kind of hilarious. Until end of turn, permanents your opponents control gain. When this permanent deals damage to the player who cast Hellish Rebuke, sacrifice this permanent, you lose 2 life. So you have to take the hit. But if somebody's swinging out at you with, like, 10 tokens, or a combination of tokens and creatures, and you can live through the hit and you cast this, they lose all their creatures and they take, 20 to 40 damage. It's pretty funny. Jessica's Will. Oh, also, we were good on money, by the way. We're at $249. We needed to be about $300 at our limit. Jessica's Will. Choose one. If you control your commander, as you cast this, you may choose both. Make a bunch of mana or exile the top 3 you may play them this turn. It's good enough. We'll keep it. Light up the stage. Light up the stage might be the most boring version of the stuff we're doing, but the Spectacle for 1 mana makes it pretty good. And it is until the end of your next turn, which we like, so for now we'll keep it. Poison the Cup is our Foretell, destroy something. This creature, Rise the Dreadmarn. Rise the Dreadmarn might go away. Rise the Dreadmarn is kind of my sweeper insurance. X is the number of non-token creatures that die this turn, but not necessarily just my creatures, right? That is such good insurance against getting board wiped. Imagine a turn where I get to cast Hellish Rebuke and Rise of the Dreadmarn in the same turn. Ah, good lord. That's too possibly good. I gotta do it. Consuming Vapors is great. Consuming Vapors is actually pretty terrible. It's just got the rebound thing, and if people are playing one big threat as opposed to spreading out a bunch of little threats, it can do work. But I don't know. You aren't one of the cards I have to keep, right? Consuming Vapors? No. No, you are not. I'm thinking I'm cutting Consuming Vapors. That might be wrong. We'll see, I guess. Alright, so Consuming Vapors goes away. Disrupt Decorum is funny, but it doesn't really play into my stuff. It just creates chaos for people, which is always hilarious and can disrupt plans, and it also gives me a turn off of getting attacked, because every creature that exists must attack somebody else until my next turn. Maybe, but I don't know. Hurl Through Hell is one of the new cards, which is fine. Ignite the Future is that a new card? That one's not new, right? No. Exile top 3 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards, and then, yeah, that's right. If you flash it back, you can do it without paying its mana cost. Music's Mastery is great. We're keeping it. Throes of Chaos is funny, but is it good? I don't think it is good enough on its own. I'm fine having, like, Bituminous Blast as a Cascader just because it actually does something else. Throes of Chaos just being recastable a bunch, I think isn't quite up to snuff. Bituminous Blast already talked about. Creative Technique I'm fine with. Dance Macabre is one of the new cards. We keep it. Rousing Refrain. It's not one of the new cards. That was the, that's right, add red and then it suspends. And then you just keep doing it. So yeah, I'm fine with that. Brass's Bounty we love. Reckless Endeavor is the new one. Rolling D12s. Fevered Suspicion's also new. Blasphemous Act is our Wrath, essentially. Bag of Devouring we have to keep. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Spell Card, Silver Purse, Ebony Fly. It's one of the silly new cards. Fiend Lash, also silly new card. Mind Stone, Rack, Signet, Talisman of Indulgence. Yes, yes, yes. Uba Mask is kind of the one that's silly and also potentially mean. How mean do I want to be? Like, Uba Mask seems real funny to me. Is it too terrible? Real quick, just looking at other things. Curse of Opulence is fine. Dead Man's Chest requires that creature dying. I think I'm fine cutting Dead Man's Chest. Theater of Horrors I might also be fine cutting. Like, Theater of Horrors is kind of good. If people blow it up, I lose the cards forever. You do have to deal damage, which requires, if nothing else, spending 4 mana into Theater of Horrors to make it work. Yeah, I might cut that. Yeah, I'm sorry, Theater of Horrors. You were a pet card of mine for once. I built an entire deck essentially around it, but now is not the time or place for you, unfortunately. Where are we at? We're at 8 more cards. Good lord. This is tricky. Wow. Alright. Let's save what we got. Let's save... Goldfish? Thank you. Don't you try and duck out on me, Goldfish. Alright, 8 more cards. Good lord. We are in the tricky bits. Okay. That's about as close as I can get showing you everything, I think. Oh, good lord, you aren't seeing a ton of stuff. There we go. Alright. That is most of the list. There's a few down here that are getting cut off. Alright, what can we do here? Disciple of the Vault is a win con. We have a couple of other win cons that do that sort of thing. And do it not exactly better, but I like the Reckless Fireweaver version a little better than the Disciple version. Technically it is dealing damage, which people can get around, but it also just cares about things entering, so yes, we're going to get rid of Disciple of the Vault. There's one. Probably get rid of... We can cut a couple more spells, right? But what? Disrupt Decorum I was kind of on the fence about. Sure. It's very silly, and it does a good thing, but it doesn't really fit the plan, and it is not at all for certain that it's like a Wrath or even close, and it just makes everybody angry at me. So yeah, I'm fine with that. So that's 2. Need a couple of 6 more. Not just a couple more, many more. Disrupt Decorum's good. Poison the Cup. Destroy target creature if it was foretold. Get a Scry 2. Do I want that? I think I'm cutting Bedevil. Bedevil is just boring enough that I'm fine cutting it. You know what? Same with Rakdos Charm. Rakdos Charm does good work, is boring. I have things that do all of those stuff essentially otherwise. I think that puts me at like 105, right? Oh, 104. Alright, we're getting there. Valakut Exploration is funny to me. Like, it's decent. It does require landfall to work. We aren't really a lands deck. And you only get the cards for one time, so yeah, that can go away. Valakut Exploration gets cut. Ubamask, I feel like I want to hold on to forever. I'm going to ride that feeling. We already got rid of Bedevil, so we hold on to Poison the Cup. Murderous Rider or Poison the Cup? Which one? That's interesting. Feed the Swarm I like too much. Who's Cunning Rhetoric? What does that do? Where are you? Whenever an opponent attacks you and or one or more planeswalkers you control. Cunning Rhetoric is good. It very much discourages people from attacking me. Yeah, I'm fine with that. That has to stay. Share the spoils. Share the spoils can go. Share the spoils can help my opponents too, and I'm not a group hug deck. Oh, Share the Spoils is one of the new cards. Never mind, it has to stay. According to our rules. Same with Warlock class. Curse of Opulence. Curse of Opulence I could actually cut. It's gold, it doesn't really work with some of my other stuff. And there is no, other than, like, I can try to politic people into attacking that person, but it also helps opponents to do so, even if it helps me slightly more. So we can get rid of the curse. Where are you? There you are. That's what, 2 more? So 2 cards to go. We're getting close, everybody. Alright, what 2 cards can possibly go? Could get rid of 1 piece of ramp, because I do have a ton. I think it would be the Thought Vessel. Because again, I'm not actually... Yeah, we can get rid of Thought Vessel. I'm not drawing a ton of cards, I'm just going to have a bunch of cards. There is a difference. Where'd you go, Thought Vessel? There you are. Alright, 1 more cut. And we're back under 200 bucks, so this is not too far off of being a semi-budgety upgrade. Spending about 90 bucks so far. What? What do we want to get rid of? If we're trying to be somewhat balanced, it would be a spell over a creature. So we're at 20 spells and 22 spells, 20 creatures, 1 only planeswalker, 5 enchantments, 14 artifacts, 38 lands, and our commander. So what do we get rid of? What is the card I am the least entranced with? It might be Fiend of the Shadows. I think it's Fiend of the Shadows. Even though it's exiling cards from the player's hand, it's very silly and good. But it's also 5 mana that people can see coming a mile away and will just draw hate instantly. So we call it Fiend of the Shadows, and I think we have a deck. Let's update all of our various views on the deck. Alright, 1 person's trash. The deck is set. Hey, you can even see almost all of the cards in it. Not quite. It won't quite fit on screen. What are you missing under there? You're missing what's under Dance Macabre, which is a Rousing Refrain and a Brass's Bounty. Alright, everybody. There is our deck. It is a good one. We do a whole lot of stuff with treasures. Sacrifice treasures. We exile a bunch of cards. We can cast a bunch of things. We're looking to land Reckless Fireweaver, Marionette Master, a couple of other sort of things like that. Just make a ton of tokens and then sack them and kill everyone. We also have a bunch of silly ways to do stuff with our opponent's decks. We can wipe the board a couple of different ways. We have some insurance against various sweepers, or at least ways to make sweepers real funny. We have ways to make big alpha strikes against us real funny. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. And with that, we can talk about who I'll be playing against next time, which is going to be Ben Wheeler, Ellie of the Vale, and Princess Weeks are going to join me in 2 weeks from today to play against this deck. I don't know what they're going to be playing yet, but it's going to be against this. One man's trash is what I'm calling this, since it's another man's treasure. One person's trash, I'm calling this, not one man's. I'm the one man, I suppose I could call it one man's trash since it's my trash, but it's more my treasure, so one person's trash is my treasure, I guess is the joke. Anyway, thank you for joining me on this Crowdsource Commander. You can buy AFR and all of your Adventures in the Forgotten Realm Commanders product that you want from Card Kingdom right now. It is on pre-order. Have a good day, everybody. Enjoy yourselves. I'm going to go to the bathroom, drink stuff, and then sleep right and do another project. So have fun, everybody.